this episode of Where Leaders Thrive by MentorMyBoard, and today we have Safir Anand with us.
Thank you so much for having me over.
And it is a pure pleasure and almost a big fan moment to say that we have him here and we get some time to pick your brains, sir, on certain questions that our audience has, and your answers could perhaps give them a direction. My first question, sir, is when we look at large corporates, and what are the leadership nuances when it comes to really large corporates?
See, initially leadership was focused more on principles of marketing, principles of sales, principles of resource planning, etc. Today, the board is confronted with innumerable amount of distractions, and the ability of the board is now becoming more complex to foresee disruptions, because disruptions are not coming with an effect which allows your business to be there for several years. So the dissection between what you're doing today and what you need to do in order to survive and to thrive is essentially becoming a bigger matter of the board, which really means that all your resources have to plow their strengths together.
Correct.
To think about disruption, not only from the perspective of marketplace but even survival.
So it could also be that the unpredictable nature of disruptions also put a lot of pressure on the large corporates and boards on how they are navigating the whole scenario.
Correct. It is. I'll give an example. I was
Please.
watching an interview yesterday by one of the leaders of Mahindra & Mahindra, and they were saying that they don't have different showrooms for their EV vehicles versus non-EV. And the reason is they don't want to bet upon the customer's choice. They don't want to confuse them and say you have to go to a different location because they may just miss out on the sale. So that is a clear example of the kind of volatility or VUCA as it is called, that is at the realm of the board, and how the board has to reconcile.
Amazing. So I'm sure that many people come to you for advice, many board leaders come to you for advice. What are the typical challenges that they bring to you when it comes to creating an alignment or creating a harmony among the board members?
Well, the challenge that we have faced, which is to do with my personal practice, is that a lot of the senior companies feel very disillusioned by the startups getting enormous valuation, because they say that they have become unicorns in a very short period of time. We have set up our units and we've been there for decades and we have not reached those valuation norms. And this essentially stems from more of the unicorn status or even bigger status that has emanated from the United States of America as an example.
Right.
So the time period for companies to scale up is becoming very small and they scale up very large. So what disturbs them is, what do we need to do as a board to reach that larger level, because we have accountability not only to a board but also stakeholders. And that is where the entire disruptive thinking process starts.
Okay.
Some of them go into asset-light models, some of them go into product extensions and other things. Some of them are looking at data and capturing the data and saying we never realized that data is such a valuable tool today because it is an inherent asset of the firm. So that entire process of aligning it all together, and I say this always to the board, that when you look at a decision of this kind, the kind that I'm talking about, you're not incurring a cost, you're causing an income.
Correct.
So that entire mindset has to change in terms of creating an income out of your assets rather than taking it as a legal cost or a consultancy cost.
So you mentioned about the mindset. So my next question is, do you see a difference, or let me reframe my question. What are the areas that Indian companies need to catch up with global companies as far as boardroom leadership is concerned?
I think one of the biggest changes that has happened in India recently is that there is now excess of capital. So the smaller companies never had capital, and therefore even if they had a desire to do things, they couldn't. But now you have an SME platform and you've got forums like yours that are mentoring them, and many other similar things. There are a lot of ways in which they have to. That capital enables them to create an intangible. And today 90% of the wealth of the world, more than 90% of the wealth of the world according to Standard & Poor, has moved to intangibles. So their know-how, their brand, their technology, their processes, their content is all getting recognized, and they are able to do that. So the more we enable them, the better will be the bottom of the pyramid growth. And when you multiply the bottom of the pyramid growth and say that we have, for example, let's take 10 lakh entrepreneurs, then this 10 lakh entrepreneurs becoming the companies of the future could be a radical change.
Amazing. I'm sure many from our audience are feeling very excited about what you're sharing.
Well, I'll give you an example of something. Last week, one of the most respected companies in India, which is Hindustan Unilever, just did an acquisition of a brand called Minimalist. Just look at it, and the entire debate was that did they pay a correct price and all, 3,000 crore plus. Oh. But you'll see a lot of these transactions when the bottom of the pyramid is actually aligned well.
Amazing insight there, sir. So, and in this scenario, what do you see platforms like MentorMyBoard? How are they contributing?
See, the first thing that you're doing is that you're making people conscious about the fact that they are a part of a value system. And value cannot be defined in terms of a pinpointed. Value can come from many things. Second part of it is that value has to be aligned, because if it's a tug of war in two different directions, the company will get split into different parts.
Correct.
The third part of it is that there is a subject that nobody has literally taught. We are learning it literally by the day, which is the issue of governance. And governance, because there is no act. I can't pick up and say this is the do's and don'ts of governance.
Right.
So when they get exposed to networking platforms, they meet other like-minded people and they realize that there are governance issues that should be stemmed in the correct form and eliminated if they were bad. And I think you guys are doing a great job in terms of the mentorship, in terms of the alignment and the exposure that you're bringing. Also personally, like for example, I attended your event today. I was very happy to see that you're encouraging some of the companies that, for example, I may not personally be aware of. Now, when I hear about it, I think this is a great company. How come I don't know about it?
Right.
So your platforms are bringing in that level of recognition for a lot of those companies. In fact, ironically, one or two companies that were featured today, I've even invested in them. And I was very happy to think that, they've reached this level that they're part of a mentorship leadership.
So everyone smiles.
Yeah, so it's nice. Yeah.
That's good, sir. And that brings me to the last question for this episode. The India growth story, the robustness, and there is so much of noise that is being made about this. Where do you see the contribution of coaching, mentoring, and leadership, the structured leadership development? What kind of a contribution can that make to the growth story?
See, we have as a nation very smart people. We have never been bad in subjects like maths and science. We've also got very hardworking people. We also have a labor cost advantage. We are not really such a high labor cost country, and we're sort of self-sustaining. We don't go overboard and take too much of debt in order to survive. Now, what is essentially required is the level of confidence. And the level of confidence can only come from a mentorship board. So whatever is the level of confidence, whether it is a pat on your back by an award, or whether it is a talk that is happening, or a round table that is happening, or a sort of a program where you're saying, okay, I'll educate you on something, will all, I think, encourage them to believe that they should not be extremely short-sighted, and that journey is quite a rewardful journey if they go for it.
Amazing insights, sir. Thank you so much for being on our show and for gracing our podcast, for gracing our event as well.
Thank you so much.